The ocean, a vast and profound mystery, has always challenged the human imagination. Its waves sometimes smiling gently, sometimes turning into a raging tempest, concealed treasures in its depths and bodies that never reach the shore. Maritime history is filled with events that still echo in people's minds. But one story stands out as a tangled puzzle of fear, wonder, and curiosity. This is the tale of the Mary Celeste, an American merchant ship found abandoned in the Atlantic Ocean in 1872. Its crew of 10 vanished, without a trace, and to this day, no clue to their fate has been found. This is not just the story of a ship, but of human nature, fear, and the allure of the unknown that draws us in. Let us unravel this tale, where every moment reveals a new layer, and every question gives birth to another. The story is divided into 4 parts: a mysterious encounter, what was found on the ship, a storm of theories, and an unending enigma. We will narrate it in sequence with vivid details, so you can bring it to life for your video or any platform. The Atlantic Ocean, November 1872, a cold month. The sky was overcast, as if draped with a heavy curtain, and the air carried the scent of salt mixed with an eerie silence. The British ship Dei Gratia, en route from Genoa to New York, rode the waves. Its captain, David Morehouse, was a seasoned mariner, a man who had faced storms, fought off pirates, and challenged death at every turn of the sea. His eyes, etched with wrinkles from years of briny air, were always fixed on the distant horizon. One evening, as the sun began to set, painting the sky red, Morehouse stood on the bridge. His first mate, Oliver Foyt, a young and spirited man, peered out the window. Suddenly, Foyt's voice trembled. "Sir, look, over there." "A ship!" Morehouse grabbed his telescope and scanned the horizon. In the distance, a ship drifted on the waves, without direction, without purpose. Its sails were tattered, as if torn by a storm, and its movement lacked the balance of a living vessel. It was at the mercy of the sea, like a helpless toy. Morehouse's heart skipped a beat. He zoomed in with the telescope and read the ship's name, Mary Celeste. This is an American ship," Morehouse muttered, his voice tinged with astonishment. "I've heard of it. It left New York for Italy 8 days ago. It should be near Gibraltar by now. Why is it drifting in the middle of the Atlantic?" Foyt nodded, sweat glistening on his forehead. "Sir, could it be an accident? A storm?" Morehouse shook his head. "No sign of a storm. The sea is calm, but something's not right." His mind raced. To the maritime reports from New York, the Mary Celeste was a 282-ton brigantine under the command of Captain Benjamin Briggs. Briggs was a respected man, a captain who cared for his crew. His wife, Sarah, and 2-year-old daughter, Sophia, were also part of the voyage. 7 sailors, all experienced, were sailing the ship to Italy to deliver industrial alcohol. Everything seemed normal. So why this desolation? An unknown fear spread through the air as if the sea breeze carried poison. Morehouse issued an immediate order. "Change course. Head toward the Mary Celeste. Send signals. See if there's a response." The Dei Gratia altered its course, and as it drew closer, the silence grew heavier. The only sounds were the lapping of waves and the creaking of the ship's timbers. Morehouse sounded the horn several times and sent flare signals, but there was no response. The deck of the Mary Celeste was utterly deserted. No shadows, no voices. It looked like a dead ship waiting to be buried. Morehouse's heart pounded. He knew that leaving a ship adrift in the ocean was dangerous. It could sink or become a target for pirates. "Foyt, you and 3 sailors. Prepare a small boat. Go check, but be careful." Foyt nodded, though fear flickered in his eyes. "Sir, is it safe?" "The sea is never safe." "Glad," Morehouse said with a wry smile laced with bitterness. "But we're sailors. Go." The small boat was lowered into the sea, and the sailors rowed toward the Mary Celeste. As they climbed the ship's ladder, they were greeted by a silence more terrifying than any storm. The wind seemed to hold its breath. Foyt placed his hand on the railing, feeling as though the ship's timbers were gripping his fingers. "No one's here," he muttered. "It's empty." The sailors stepped onto the deck. The captain's cabin, the crew's quarters, the galley. Everything was intact. No bodies, no bloodstains, just silence, and the strange sensation that the place was still alive, but its soul had vanished. Foyt glanced at a sailor whose eyes widened in terror. "Sir, this is a ghost ship. Let's go back." But they didn't turn back. They began inspecting the ship, and thus began one of the greatest mysteries in maritime history. The Mary Celeste, an ordinary merchant vessel, had become a spectral enigma. When Foyt and his companions boarded the Mary Celeste, their astonishment and fear knew no bounds. The ship was devoid of human presence, yet signs of human life were scattered everywhere, as if a film had paused, and the actors had vanished. The air still carried the scent of fresh food and salty wood, but there were no breaths, no footsteps. Foyt steeled himself and moved forward, while the sailors exchanged glances as if it were all a bad dream. They first reached the captain's cabin. The door was ajar, as if someone had just stepped out. Inside, Captain Benjamin Briggs's bed was neatly made, sheets pristine, not a wrinkle on the pillow. Maps were spread out on the desk, marked with the ship's last position, the middle of the Atlantic. November 25, 1872. The logbook lay open, its final entry reading, "All is well. Wind from the southwest. Speed 6 knots. Crew healthy." The entry was 10 days old with no mention of distress. The captain's watch rested on the table, its hands frozen, perhaps at 8:30, his personal belongings, like letters and a photo frame with a picture of his wife. Sarah and daughter Sophia were all there. Foyt touched the photo, feeling as though Sarah's eyes were staring at him. What happened to them? He wondered. Next, they moved to the crew's quarters. It was a cramped, damp space where the 7 sailors lived. Their trunks were open, containing clothes, personal letters, money, and tobacco pipes, all untouched. One sailor's trunk held an old Bible with marked pages, as if they had just stood up and left, expecting to return. There were no signs of a struggle, no bloodstains. Foyt looked at a sailor leaning against the wall. This is impossible. People don't just disappear like this. The galley was even stranger. Pots were in place. A soup pot still felt warm, as if food had just been cooked. 6 months' worth of provisions were stocked. Sacks of flour, salted fish, biscuits, and fruit. Fresh drinking water filled the tanks. No shortage was evident. The cook, an elderly Irishman, had written in his notebook, "Today's meal, soup and bread. All is well." There was no issue of hunger or thirst. How could people abandon a fully stocked ship? As they headed to the cargo hold, the sailors' steps grew heavier. The ship carried 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol, a valuable commodity, destined for Italian factories. The barrels were securely chained in place, but 9 barrels were empty, their lids open, with the smell of alcohol lingering. A leak, Foyt said. Maybe there was a risk of explosion. But the rest of the cargo was intact. No signs of looting. Inspecting the ship's condition heightened their unease. The lower hold had 3.5 feet of water, concerning, but not enough to sink the ship. The pumps were functional, the timbers sturdy. The ship was fully seaworthy, as if someone had abandoned it in haste. The most shocking clue was the lifeboat. The ship's only small emergency boat was missing, its place empty, the ropes cut. Additionally, the sextant and chronometer, essential for navigation, were gone. These were tools for survival. Foyt thought they left in a hurry, but with a plan. Captain Briggs, Sarah, little Sophia, and the 7 sailors, all in one lifeboat? In the open sea? That's suicide! The sailors returned to the Dei Gratia, their faces pale with dread. Morehouse asked Foyt, "What did you find?" "Nothing, sir. Just signs of life." Without life, Morehouse decided, we'll tow it to Gibraltar. There'll be an investigation. And so, the Mary Celeste was tied to the Dei Gratia with ropes, and both ships set off for Gibraltar. The waves remained silent, but a question echoed in the air. What had happened? When the Dei Gratia reached Gibraltar, news of the Mary Celeste spread like wildfire. Crowds gathered at the port, journalists arrived, and naval officers surrounded the ship. "Ghost ship," people shouted, each spinning their own tale. The British and American governments ordered investigations, and for months, experts examined the ship. The logbook, maps, and cargo were scrutinized, but no answers emerged. Instead, a storm of theories arose, raging for decades. The first theory, a pirate attack. Morehouse suspected it initially. "Maybe pirates looted it," he said. The seas were known for bands that attacked ships, killed crews, and stole cargo. But this theory was quickly dismissed. There were no signs of violence, no bullet holes, no bloodstains. The valuable cargo and personal belongings were untouched. Why would pirates leave it behind? A journalist wrote, "This isn't a tale of looting, but of escape." Second, a mutiny. Some speculated the crew rebelled against the captain. Maybe they got drunk on the alcohol, an officer suggested. Killed the Briggs family and fled in the lifeboat. But records were checked. All sailors were experienced, with clean histories. The alcohol was industrial, not drinkable, toxic. Drunkenness was out of the question. The presence of Sarah and Sophia made mutiny unlikely. This was a family, not a slave ship, Morehouse said. Third, a natural disaster. Experts consulted maritime records. Perhaps an underwater earthquake, a scientist proposed. A seaquake, a wave caused by seismic activity, could have shaken the ship, terrifying the crew. Or a waterspout, a maritime tornado, could have swept everything away. Captain Briggs might have thought the ship was sinking and ordered the lifeboat. But then, why was the lifeboat missing? The waves swallowed it, the theory suggested. Weather reports showed a mild storm on November 25th, but nothing catastrophic. Fourth, and most plausible, an alcohol vapor explosion. This was favored by many experts and remains the most accepted theory today. The 9 empty barrels had leaked, and alcohol vapors accumulated in the cargo hold. Alcohol is highly flammable. A single spark could have blown up the ship. Captain Briggs, a cautious man, might have feared an imminent explosion. Everyone to the lifeboat, he might have ordered. They tied the boat to the ship, waiting for the danger to pass. But the weather worsened. A storm broke the rope and the boat drifted away. Foyt told Morehouse, "Sir, imagine Sarah holding the child, Briggs reading the map, sailors rowing, then a wave, and gone." Morehouse bowed his head. "That's the sea, lad. It takes and doesn't give back." Fifth, the supernatural. Where science stops, legends begin. Some claimed a sea monster swallowed them, an old myth of giant creatures dragging ships under. Others linked it to the Bermuda Triangle, a region where ships vanish. Aliens, some shouted. Books were written, films made. A novelist wrote, "The souls of the Mary Celeste still wander, searching for their lifeboat." The storm of theories never subsided. Each era birthed new stories, but the mystery remained unchanged. A century and a half has passed, but the mystery of the Mary Celeste lives on. Even in 2025, as we dwell in a world of technology, this story reminds us of the ocean's vastness and its enigma. The ship was removed from Gibraltar, its cargo sold, but its tale echoes in newspapers, books, and now the internet. Where did those 10 people, Captain Briggs, Sarah, Sophia, and the sailors, go? Did a storm swallow them? Did they die of hunger and thirst? Or is there another secret? In memory of Sarah, a strong woman, people say. She must have been trying to save Sophia. Briggs, who wrote in the logbook, might have thought in his final moments, "God keep us safe." The sailors, who sang at night, are now silent. This story reminds us that humanity is helpless before nature. The sea takes and creates mysteries. Until solid evidence is found, perhaps the wreckage of the lifeboat or a diary, the Mary Celeste, will remain maritime history's greatest enigma. It terrifies and compels us to wonder what happened in that cold ocean.